Hey everybody, Karen from Ask the Spirit Guides. I hope you're doing well today. And Lucy, she's visiting. So we are going to be talking to, maybe, hopefully, I got to ask, talking to Jack Smith's higher self. Okay, and I'll tell you who Jack Smith is if you're not sure who he is. He's an interesting story because he has been popping up in pendulum messages from our spirit teams, the lead team collective, since March. And he took a breather. They stopped having him pop up. He came up in March and April, and I'll read you some of the old pendulum messages. And then he came up again yesterday. So I find that very interesting. And Jack is someone who the lead team collective has been telling us is investigating F-45 and who is Trump, if you're wondering who that is. So they basically, so they've been telling us he's been investigating him. Now, I'll read you some background with him, and then we're going to ask the lead team collective if we can talk to his higher self and find out really what's going on. Okay, so let's look. So yesterday, yesterday. I'm trying to think of when I'm posting that video. So I posted a video that said 5 pendulum messages from Spirit. Okay, and I went towards specific messages, which I've never done before in that video. I will post that video at the end of this this video. It'll pop up right here in the corner if you want to watch it, if you haven't watched it yet. But I had asked the lead team collective for specific messages regarding martial law, Epstein Files, Charlie Kirk, the collective, like how are we doing as a collective right now? And what has to finally happen for F-45 to be done, okay, with whatever they're doing. So that was I'm not going to go over all of them, but what was really interesting, and this is what sparked this conversation, is that when I asked about the Epstein Files, the lead team collective on the pendulum, they spelled out for me. So that's a little different than what we're doing today. So they spelled out things for me. Okay. And you can see it on camera. Today we're just asking yes and no questions using the dowsing rods. If you're brand new here, you could go to the Start Here playlist after this video. It'll pop up right here. If you want to know more about the tools I'm using and more not basic, but like introductory videos, like asking about soul contracts and all that kind of stuff. All right. So when I asked about the Epstein Files, like I said, they spelled out Jack Smith. That's what they spelled out, Epstein Files. Okay. So I found that quite curious. You can go to that video to watch how like I was, what? Are you kidding me? Okay. So I am looking now. I keep a bullet journal. And I keep all of the messages that we have gotten through the pendulum so that now I can start looking back at stuff, because now things are coming to light of what they talked about a while back. So, and it's just interesting that we can see this history now. Now, I didn't start doing the pendulum until March. And somebody, a lovely person in our community, thank you so much, sent me this pendulum, which you can find in our small business directory, which we have. I will post that QR code right here and put the link in the description. Please visit our small businesses. There's over 100 small businesses from our community that you could support going into the upcoming holidays. If you're going to be purchasing things, gifts, you could get somebody a spiritual reading, or you could look at all the artists that we have in our community that have joined the small business directory. So you can find this under spiritual, I think it's spiritual supplies or something like products, spiritual products. Okay. So these are very cool. And so I started doing this. I hadn't even thought to do it because I was using the dowsing rods from like October. In fact, we're coming up to our 1 year anniversary. We should celebrate that, Marsh. Huh. I don't know. I might be out of town, but anyway, so we're coming up to our 1 year anniversary, and I started just using these and having coffee with Karen and just kind of talking about what's going on in the world. And then, like I said, in April or in March, I started doing pendulum, and that's when I started recording it. So on the first time that the lead team collective had, and I really wasn't, well, they hadn't named themselves the lead team collective yet, but that's who we essentially were talking to. On March 18th, 2025, they said, Jack is here. And then I said, to what? To why? And they said, arrest Trump. Okay. So yeah, I mean, I still think it's true. I still think it's going to happen this way. I'll be surprised if it doesn't. It doesn't really matter how it happens as long as it happens one way or another. So someday I should just sit and go through all of our messages so you guys can hear like the history. Let me know if you would be interested in that, because I'd be happy to read through the messages so you can kind of hear and maybe pull together your own. You will be able to see a big picture here when you look at the past, which is really interesting. So that was the first time they mentioned, and then I see, let's see, they did mention ICC. So Jack is working, I don't know if he still is, working for the ICC. Okay. And they did mention that. I saw this. Oh, yeah. Okay. On April 6th, 2025, the message was, you stand strong. And then I asked about what? And they said Trump. They spelled that out. And I said, why? They said leaving. This was on April 6th. So they wanted us, they spelled out you, as in just a U, stand strong, Trump leaving, how, I said how, they said arrested, and I said by who, and they said ICC. And then I said when, and they said May. Okay, so we know now, I know now enough in my spiritual journey, understanding timelines and all that, that's a whole nother conversation, but I'm not disappointed and like, oh, you didn't get the prediction. It's not, I don't think it's really a prediction. It's something other than, I don't know how to explain it right now. I will do that in a different, we'll have that conversation in a different video. Okay, so let's see. When else did he mention, or the lead team mention Jack Smith? Let's see. I'm buzzing through May, so I don't see anything specifically about Jack. So I kind of wonder if those were the only times. Of course, they have been saying over and over and over again for months and months and months, like at least once a week, Trump is leaving, Trump is leaving, Trump is leaving. Like that's very, very consistent. I actually kind of stopped asking because I was getting annoyed. I was getting a little tired of it. So then I started recording in this book with my Sasquatch. I like calling him Sasquatch. Okay, so let's see. I think it might have just been then, maybe it was just those two messages, and then they brought him up again yesterday. We really should go through these. I think it would be quite interesting. Why don't we do that? Well, again, let me know if you'd be interested in me going through them, because then maybe you can help me see big picture and look back. It will look back at pendulum messages. I just think that would be really fascinating to do it as a group. In fact, I might want to do it live with you guys, because if we do it live, then I can see what you're saying in real time and we could have a conversation. That might be interesting. I just got to get my computer switched to hopefully live will work better for us. Okay, well, that's all the Jack Smith I'm actually seeing. It was nice to see him pop up again. So, but it's in relation to the Epstein Files, which I thought fascinating. All right, so let's take a look here. A little background about Jack. Okay. So earlier in 2025, which was again March and April, our lead team collective spelled out Jack Smith several times as being a factor in bringing information forth about the alleged 2024 presidential election fraud. You know, it's interesting because now that I look at that, I'm not sure they just said arrest Trump. They didn't really say it was because of this. Okay, that it was because of the election fraud. So allegedly and entertainment purposes only. So now it makes me wonder. They've never been this specific now that I'm looking at the messages. So they were specific to say Epstein Files. So now I'm wondering if that has all along been what the point of Jack bringing Trump F-45 to his knees, basically, that's fascinating to me. Okay, we thought it was time to add Jack to our What's Up With series of videos. Okay, my sister wrote this for me. I'm just reading it. So let's find out what's up with Jack Smith. All right. So Jack Smith is a career prosecutor who has served in various high-level legal positions. In November 2022, U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland appointed Smith to serve as special counsel designed to investigate independently, guided only by facts and law, aiming for an indisputable legal and ethical standard for the government. That's interesting. When appointed, there were 2 ongoing criminal investigations into F-45. These investigations were into alleged efforts to overturn the 2020 presidential election. It's not alleged. I heard him with my own ears asking the governor, well, all we need is 11,000 votes. Alleged. Anyways, maybe because he hasn't, and you know. And the potential mishandling of classified documents after leaving the White House in 2021. My sister's trying to protect me by saying alleged and potential. Thank you, Marcia. Okay, so let's ask some questions regarding that. But first, I'm going to tap into his higher self. So I close my aura to all but my higher self, the God consciousness, my guides, guardians, the lead team collective, and only those of the highest and purest light. And ask Archangel Michael to please protect my channel, your channel, our community, the lead team collective, so it is only of the highest and purest light. Amen. Hey, you guys, good morning. I don't think they have morning, but how are you today? Somebody had said to me, you can't ask how are you today because it's not a yes or no question. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. But when they say yes, that's just, to me, that's like, if they said no, like that, if they said no, then I'd be like, oh, well, they're not doing too well. Okay. So lead team, thank you very, very much for all your help, guidance, and support of each of us individually, as well as collectively in the community. So appreciated during these times. Can we, or is it a good idea for us to tap into Jack Smith's higher self to ask the questions in front of me? Yes. Or would you rather answer the questions? No. Okay. Sometimes they do say no. Sometimes they do say they'd rather answer. Only a few times. So, okay. So can we go ahead and invite Jack Smith's higher self in, please? Yes. Okay, Jack Smith, hello. Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate your insight as us spirits in human form are trying to explore exactly what's going on Earth and manage it to the best of our abilities in a loving way. So it helps us to know something so that we can stay in higher vibration. So we appreciate you being here. If there's any questions in front of me that's not in our highest best interest or in Jack, is human Jack, not in his highest and best interest, can you please refrain from answering? Yes. Okay, thank you. Okay, so based on that, what I explained about Jack in that intro, can you see the intro I just read off to the community? Yes. Okay. Did you handle your role according to those guidelines that were appointed to you by Biden or by Merrick Garland? Yes. While conducting the investigation, did you view your work as a political attack against F-45? And just so I'm clear, you know who I'm talking about, F-45, as in Donald Trump? Yes. Okay. So they said no. So while conducting the investigation, did you view your work as a political attack against DJT? No. Was your team only going after Republicans? No. In your career, have you been able to remain impartial with a goal of serving the public? Yes. Would you say 100% of the time he's staying impartial? No. Okay. Is it correct that there were about 85 charges issued on F-45 by your office? Yes. This is so annoying that just ignore them. You just ignore them. Okay, 4 cases. Classified documents case. 37 charges, later superseded to 40 counts total. So there were 37 charges, but later it totaled 40 counts. Okay. So total alleged criminal counts, 44 total counts across both cases. So the stolen election claim, or him trying to steal the 2020 election, and the materials. Okay. So let's see. Were both the election and classified documents cases dismissed solely due to the DOJ policy? They're already saying no, or he's already saying no, prohibiting the prosecution of a sitting president. No, because he wasn't a sitting president at that time. Okay, F-45 was convicted of 34 felony counts in the New York business records. In the New York business records case on May 30th, 2024. Do you see that? Yep. Was this conviction due to the work of the special counsel's team? Yes. Should that conviction have been sufficient to prevent F-45 from being inaugurated on January 20th, 2025? Yes. F-45 received an unconditional discharge for his New York State conviction on January 10th, 2025, which means he suffered no consequences. You officially separated from the Department of Justice also, oh, I didn't know this, also on January 10th, 2025. Interesting. Okay, so now we have another set of questions here about that, or just in general. If F-45 had not received this unconditional discharge, could he by law have been inaugurated on January 20th? Oh, so annoying. No, he couldn't have been because he was a convicted felon. Was this just a coincidence that occurred on the same day as F-45's unconditional discharge? I don't really understand this. Was this just a coincidence? If Trump had not received this unconditional, I think Marsha's trying to say Jack Smith maybe. Was it just a coincidence that you left the same day as Trump's unconditional discharge? No. Did you resign willingly? No. Were you threatened in some way which led to your resignation? Yes. Would a normal U.S. citizen receive the same unconditional discharge that F-45 received? No. Is that because, I mean, I'm starting to really learn that there's this whole, the whole mob mentality is all made up of blackmail. So they have blackmail on, like, oh, but everybody's just blackmailing each other. That's all they're doing. That's how they stay in power. Is that true? Yes. Did they have blackmail on you, Jack Smith? No. Okay. So if they don't have blackmail, do they just go to violence then, basically? Ah, yes. Okay. This is a mob. This is just, are we looking, is our federal government, not saying anybody in particular, but the system, is the system like the mob, basically? Yes. Can you say the same thing about all other countries? Is the whole government structure basically like a big mob? Yes. And so people get into it not knowing it's like this. Is that correct? I mean, I would know if I was running. Yes. Okay. And then they get caught up or they get blackmailed or they get threatened, basically. Yes. Okay. And the reason we're exploring these things is not for fear. The reason we're exploring these things is for us to know what's going on, allegedly, entertainment purposes only, so that we can learn and grow and not continue creating the same systems. So I'm getting to that point where I'm no longer afraid or totally freaked out. Like I'm at that acceptance stage. I've learned something new about those in leadership or those in power over the last 10 months. And I went through the grieving process. Probably a lot of us did. I'm assuming you did or not, but I'm right now, today, in the acceptance phase. And then it's like, okay, well, what do we do about it? Right. So that's kind of, I think we all have to kind of go through that process. But if we're not willing to look at it, then we're not going to heal. We have to be able to see things very clearly in order for us to heal as a collective and make changes. So that's kind of where I'm at. And for now, that's how I'm facilitating our conversations, is becoming aware. So I'm not just like doing this for politics, like just to, it's just for us to become more and more aware so that we have sovereignty over what we're supporting, And again, I'm not saying any of this is 100% true. You have to use your own critical thinking and look into things and all that kind of stuff and watch for stuff. But I think what we need is for everybody in the collective to go through the grieving process, and we're all going through it in different ways, right? So, and just like everybody does, everybody grieves a loss differently. And so some of you may have been in acceptance because you knew this stuff way sooner than I did, right? Or some of you are just learning it today and can't be in part of this conversation because you're not there yet. You're not ready for it or whatever. So I'm still here helping myself and you see the truth of what's going on, or at least explore the truth. Again, not saying this is the truth. So it's just exploring the possibilities. Okay. So, and then as we continue to have conversations about, well, what do we do about it? Okay. Well, we have to be in acceptance, I think, before we can start doing that, before we can really approach things with love. Because if we're in anger phase, then how you're approaching things would be very different than if you were acceptance stage, right? So you'll get there. We'll all get there in different ways, but hopefully the collective, we start to, I think that's what's going to make, it's going to bring us to some healing. Okay, well, that was a little commentary. Where was I at here? After your designation. Okay, so were you threatened? Would a normal citizen have received after your resignation? Okay, so after your resignation, Jack, did you secretly begin investigating the 2024 alleged election fraud? Yes. Has the energy shifted away? I was curious about this. Has the energy shifted away from 2024 election fraud as the main catalyst in removing F45 from office? Yes. Okay, just collectively have we moved away from election fraud? No. Is it more the energy of those who are working on a case against F45? Is that what you mean? Yes. Okay. So there is is there still some good momentum energy towards the election fraud issue? Yes. Okay, good. And again, if you guys have additional questions, let us know. If there's a ton of additional questions, then we'll do a part 2. It just depends on how interesting this is for you. All right. Has the energy now shifted to the Epstein files yes, okay, because that matches the pendulum messaging. All right. Will you have a part in releasing the Epstein files? Yes. All right. Looking back, do you now regret accepting the appointment in November 2022? Yes. Okay, so Jack Smith, the human, does. Yes, he does. Change your life, didn't it? Was that always a part of your soul contract? Yes. Okay. So from a spiritual perspective, you as his higher self, are you disappointed? I know he's going to say no. Are you disappointed? No. They don't get disappointed. So it's not really the right way to ask that. Did your spirit in human form, go in the direction that was originally planned for him? Yes. Okay. So then he wouldn't be disappointed. Yes. Okay. Will a valuable outcome of your work be in setting future guidelines for how government officials are investigated? Yes, because they're really doing it now with Comey and I think it's the governor in New York City. I want to say Letitia, but I'm not sure that's correct. Is it Letitia? No, yeah, just F45's tweets about different people on the left. All right. You know what? It's probably because they don't have any blackmail over them. Is that the case? Do they have blackmail over Comey? No. Because if they did, they wouldn't have to threaten them. Is that correct? Yes. Okay. So we have two things going on. We either have a blackmailing system or a tax system. Yes. Okay. Let's see. Will the chaos caused by F45 lead to transparency and accountability from all government leaders? Yes. Around the world? Yes. Okay. So very positive outcome. That's how this is helping me get to acceptance stage, is seeing some things differently than I've seen, which was horrifying. I went through months of being horrified. And we have to remember that MAGA is good. MAGA, however you want to say it. MAGA just seems right to me. They are going to be we're all going through it for different reasons. And I think it'll be helpful. We can forgive and not forget. Just keep that in mind. I know that's hard for some people. Because, yeah, I mean, if I think too hard on it, am I pissed about them putting us in this situation? 1,000%. But we can forgive and not forget and understand that there are things that we've been asleep on, or all of us have been not just unaware of, not asleep, but just unaware of. And there's still a ton of people who are unaware of anything that's going on here because it's not part of their plan. It's not part of their plan. So that's something we have to grapple with, is the forgiveness or the unity that, are we going to, as a collective, help each other see the truth? Help the collective see the truth between the leadership, the mob, and around the world and the people, right? So I can see spiritually and astrologically that that's where we're headed now. Now, I couldn't have said that last November and December and January and February. I was in anger phase, you know? So, and I'm not saying I won't be again. Again, if I think about it too long, I can get pretty irritated. Okay, you guys, I will see you. I hope this was helpful. Let me know what you think about the Jack Smith thing. And then let me know if you want me to do, I think we should do a live and have a live conversation about pendulum messages. Only because then I would be able to see what you're saying in real time. I'd be curious to know. So I might just pop on here live and do it. Oh, okay. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.